Alright, so first one is Ashi Barai, it's just like an outside foot sweep. Usually we teach it in class with a side shuffle, so we grab collar, sleeve, we shuffle to the side together, one shuffle, two shuffle, and then notice how his body's weighted on this leg so that his trailing leg is empty or it's up in the air. And that's what I'm going to start kicking out, right? We can also create that image by pulling him towards us here. He takes that step and now the collar side's going to shove him away, and again that foot does not have any weight onto it. You're going to kick that foot out. Now what you do to the bottom, you kind of do the opposite to the top part of his body. So I'm turning a big wheel here with my grips, right? So if I pull him towards me here, he's heavy in the front leg. Now I'm going to lean into him this way. Now when I kick this leg out, you want to think about his feet creating a triangle. So he has point 1, point 2, missing is point 3 here, or missing is point 3 there. I want to take him backwards with this throw, so that point 3 is where I'm going to turn the big wheel and drive him towards that direction there. So if I readjust his back here, like that, I pull his foot towards me, and I take a step back, kind of like where mirror image, our feet are a mirror image of each other. Now I shove him forward, and I take a little cheat step in the sense that I'm going to shuffle towards him. Now look at my trailing leg, it's free here to kick this leg out, right? So I'm going to kick that leg kind of with the bottom of my foot here and sweep it across. At the same time, I'm pulling hard down on this sleeve here and turning his upper body so that his body rotates like that, like a big wheel, right? So I'm going pull, shove, pull, shove. Alright, so the no-gi version of the foot sweep or the Ashi Barai, there's nothing to grab onto here, so my grips are going to be behind the neck and I'm going to grab onto the wrist. This is from like a medium range, but if it was closer range, I'll be overhooking the arm and grabbing onto the neck. So yeah, this version here, or if he's tighter to me here, we'll do it on this side. I'm going to pinch the arm, cup the tricep here, pinch my arm tight, and I still have that same type of control that we had with the collar and the sleeve here, right? So everything's the same though. I pull this foot forward, and since I have nothing to push him away, I'm actually gonna use my fingers hooking on the other side of his neck to lean into him this way, and that's gonna take his center of gravity that way. That way I can start manipulating that foot. Now once you kick that foot up, my hand that was doing this is actually gonna do like a clothesline and shove him to the mat. So you're going 1, peel, foot, strike, right? So I'm going here, peel, foot, strike. So you go, imagine thumb up to thumb down. Now the closer version, same thing. I take a step, everything's the same. It's just my hands grabbing his tricep and my elbows pinching in on his wrist. That controls the arm here. Now I lean into him with my shoulder and my head, and I'm also assisting with this palm here. But everything after that's the same. Once this foot's light, I kick it out. I use my body. My body just rotate down to the mat. So for this throw, the Sasae Tsuri Komi Ashi, I'm doing a foot sweep kind of. I'm planting my foot in front of his ankle as I pull him over my feet this way. So again, I get collar and sleeve here. I'm going to take a J step with my outside leg. So the leg that's not doing the trip, I'm actually going to hop out, essentially hopping out of the way of his body so that he goes past me here. And all I have to do is use the bottom of my foot here, kind of like a hockey stick, to just plant on top of his ankle where his feet connects to his shin. From there, I'm just going to turn the big wheel. So I take a big step out. I'm kind of pulling him onto his toes. You imagine if Gabe does a diving roll here, his body kind of does this, and I'm actually making him do that involuntarily, right? So the more I can pull up on my elbows and kind of arch my hip back, kind of like you're throwing something behind you, you're throwing a big rock over your head, or you're putting on a shirt like this, I'm going like here. That's gonna start causing him to get onto the ball of his feet. Now all I have to do from there is stick my foot out and make sure you're taking that J step out, and I do that. And J step I mean by my foot literally goes here. So it's doing this, and that's gonna help me rotate him through. Here, I'm not just shuffling off to the side here when I do the throw. I'm actually turning my foot like a letter J and pointing my toes this way. That's going to start the momentum of the throw right off the bat. So I'm actually here. So that stomp with this sleeve grip and this collar grip here, I'm flaring my elbows up and I'm actually arching my hip back as I do that. Notice how that's going to actually pull him forward and at that upward angle. Now I'm gonna add my J step to that here, and it starts the rotation immediately right as my foot makes impact on the floor. Add my tripling foot to that, and everything kind of spirals and it gets taken this way, right? So, do a couple examples here. Here, I J step. Another thing to keep in mind is you're looking to where he's going to fall, because that's how your spine is going to continue its rotation, right? If I look this way and I try to do that, my spine gets locked up. So I need to look this way, and that's going to help me throw my hands all the way towards the fall. So again, I'm here. So the Nogi, Sasae, Tsuri, Komi, same thing as the Ashi Barai. I'm taking a step out and I'm rotating this way. Now, I have the grip on the wrist here and behind the neck, or I could go for the tricep grip here. For this one too, it helps to the rotation if you start turning the wrist up and make him do that. So notice how it's kind of like I'm doing an outside wrist lock here. Notice how his body kind of flares up and his chest opens up towards the ceiling. If I could do that during the throw, instead of just pulling straight and just having him do this, I'm actually pulling straight and rotating up. And that's gonna start the rotation of his body as he goes through the air, right? So everything's the same here though. I'm doing my J step out, I'm doing this. Notice how as I pull, I'm pulling my palm up towards the ceiling. And I'm still making him do that diving roll involuntarily, right? Going here. So my elbow raises up, my hand twists towards me, and by default, that's gonna raise his chest up towards the ceiling. And all I have to do now is just rotate, look towards the mat, and I'll take him down. So I'm here, J step out, rotate, there's the takedown. So the next throw is Soto Gari. So all I'm doing is just crashing my body into his and then reaping out his legs. I can either swing my legs back to trip him, or I can plant my foot behind him and just throw him over with my upper body. So some details on that. I have the same grips, collar sleeve. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to step my same side foot to line up with his or go past his foot here. The reason for that is I want my chest to make contact with his chest and actually bring his posture backwards a little bit. If I try to throw from here and I just stick my foot like this, notice how off balance I am? So when I do my initial step, I need to make sure it steps here. Now with the same grips here, I'm actually going to turn my elbow up towards the ceiling so that I'm actually essentially throwing a hook so that it pushes his upper body this way. I'm driving with my knuckles into his clavicle here. And then his other arm is getting pinned to my chest here so that it's my body weight that drives into the mat. So just with the step, I'm going here. Notice how that initial chest contact bounces him back a little bit. My trailing leg here just steps all the way through, and I could either cut the leg out from underneath him, and it's gonna be kind of like a seesawing motion, or I can just plant it there and throw him over with my upper body. So we'll do both variations. So I'm just gonna do the planting one first, here, and then I'll do the reaping one now. Here. Notice how my head does not travel up as I'm stepping through. That's the biggest mistake we see a lot of people do. So what I mean by that is I'm not doing this here. My head stays forward and my body's arched forward so that I'm literally driving through him when I do this. Notice how once I get contact here, I'm already here. And my head travels in this straight line like that so that I make contact and then my leg just cuts out his base. So again, I'm here, boom. The Nogi Soto is kind of like the Ashi Barai. I have the wrist grip behind the neck here. I take a big step so that we're in the same line. And I make sure my chest is making contact with this area of his chest here and also this arm here. Imagine like this is a rope and it gets caught on something, right? So it gets caught on something and it tugs him that way. So your body is the thing that's kind of shoving through that area. So as I do that, all I gotta do is kick out his bottom leg here and he's gonna fall over. So I get to here. One thing for our setup is our snap down so that he postures back up, right? If I pull his head down like this, he's gonna fight that and try to stand back up straight. And I just follow that and use that momentum to spring me into his arm. So we always thought about snap down, postured up, boom, I step through. Now this is where my thumb is up and it turns down. I cut the legs out, turn the palm down, and there's the throw. Anytime you have control of the wrist, you can turn that palm up towards the ceiling. That's gonna help you throw them even better, more efficiently, right? So this to here, here to here. So again, I go here, boom, snap down, he postures up, I follow through. As I follow through, this is happening. So I'm going like this, here. So I'm going, boom, takedown. So the next throw is your Tai Otoshi. So all I'm gonna do is, essentially I have collar sleeve again. I move off to the side and I stick my entire leg in front of him and I'm gonna throw him over my leg. So details on that. What I do, when I step off to the side, I'm doing a back step here, and it's a very wide back step. What I mean by that is, I'm not stepping behind my foot here to travel distance forward. I'm actually stepping way out here so that when I rotate, my hips are not covering his hips. My body's not in front of him here. The reason for that is if I throw him when my body's in front of him, he's just gonna crash into me, right? So I wanna just get my body off center a little bit, stick my leg across his entire body here. So I'm going like this. I take my back step, wide back step here. Now I'm doing like a front lunge to this corner here, away from him. So my grips do not change. I just rotate this one here, and I stick the ball of my foot into the mat, my knees pointing down like that. So my calf is making contact with his shin here, so that it blocks his foot. If it does not, and I just blow him over, he's gonna step over my leg here, and there's his recovery. So what I mean, I need to make sure he cannot step over. So my leg makes contact there. My arm here at the collar starts turning over, and just like our Soto, it's gonna punch him across into the mat here. It's gonna make him do kind of like a somersault as he rolls. So nice and easy, we go here. I back step this way. My leg goes across in here, and I'm gonna pull hard with the sleeve side because that causes rotation with his upper body. That rotation is blocked by this leg here, and my knee points to the mat so he doesn't land on top of my knee like this. I'm actually continuing the rotation into a full like lunge, right? So again, I'm here, I take him down, rotate, rotate. Again. I add a little more speed so it's a little easier. Now, there's a variation on that where you can kind of load him onto your body and pop him up with that leg by straightening out that knee. That's what we talked about before. So when I get to here and I get to here, I can actually start hugging over the top like this. And notice how this leg here is bent. And the act of popping it up is actually going to raise him onto my upper body, and I'm going to rotate him over onto the mat. So I'm going here, bend. You right? So for the no-gi Tai Otoshi, all I'm gonna do is get my same wrist and collar sleeve or neck, behind the neck grip, and I'm going to do my wide back step here, and I'm gonna go to here. Now you can do it from an arm's length away where you're actually pulling him over with that grip behind the neck, or you can start hugging onto his lat. So you're using kind of like a head and arm throw, or like clotheslining his head as you go through. So what I mean by that is you go arm's length away here and maintain this grip here as I step through. Or a little more efficient is to just let your arm slide all the way to the head and capture the head. So I'm going here, back step, and this thing essentially just clotheslines him, and I capture the head, and I step this way. Notice how it just takes a little bit of effort and it's gonna tip off balance, right? Most important thing for this throw, point your knee to the mat so he doesn't land on top of it. So I'll take you down, back step here, all the way through. If you fall down with him, you're gonna fall into queso, which is perfectly fine. So if that happens, you have control, right? So I'm here. If I throw him a little harder, my body has to follow him, and most likely it's gonna fall down with him. So I get to here, I'll land like that. All right, so for the Ko-uchi, I have collar sleeve. I'm pulling the sleeve side towards me. I'm taking a step back here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little cheat step so that my center of gravity is underneath me. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna hook you behind here. I'm gonna take him over towards that corner there. You guys wanna think of the person as a triangle, right? So yes, if I take him this way, there's point 1, point 2, and I'm missing point 3. Because I'm missing a point 3 here. So when I take away one of his bases, I'm gonna throw his upper body to one of those missing points. For this specific throw, we're taking him to the back point there, right? So if I go here, I take a step back as I pull the sleeve towards me. I take a little cheat step forward here. Now all I'm gonna do is I'm going to hook behind his leg like this. And what I'm gonna do is my upper body is gonna take him to the mat as I kind of peel the leg back. And it's gonna be like a little seesaw action there. And he's gonna fall to the mat, right? So I'm going here, boom, little cheat step, hook, and take down. Now the variation for jiu-jitsu is to drop to your knees when you hook. So I can do that too. I'm going here. Now when I drop to my knee, it kind of acts like my body's like the wave. It's like doing the worm, right? So it's actually collapsing onto him like that. So I'm going here, and then I'm going to drop to my knee and use my body here to just collapse that structure and just straighten out his knee as I fall down onto it. So I'm going here, capturing and going over the top. A little back. One variation we taught in class was the arm drag to the koji. So we did same side grab. I pull him so that pull with the arm so his foot takes a step, and then my foot goes in and I take him down, right? So if I do that quickly here, arm drag. All right, the nogi koji. Everything's the same. I grab onto the wrist, behind the head here. I make him take a step. I do my cheat step and I go to here. Now again, I want to clothesline him on the way down. I'm taking him to where his triangle point is not. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3 back here or up here, right? So if I do everything correct, I'm hooking onto here. My foot is hooking kind of like a hockey stick behind his foot, right? So it's actually going here. Now I can lift that up, or I can capture it here and just lock it in place. So you can lift it up here and then push him over, or I can literally capture it in here and lock that in place and push him over that way. Either way, you're doing the same mechanism. You're taking the base out from under him, push him towards the blue mat. So I take you down this way, here, cheat step here, and take down. My hook and my clothesline happens at the same time. Boom. So I'm scooting back and shucking down right at the same time. So there's no delay there. So if you watch my thumb here, I'll try to make it obvious. I'm going up to down. So I'm going thumb up, scoop, thumb down. And then the knee drop version too is the same thing. I go here. Now what I'm gonna do is, it's gonna be hard for me to hold on to something up here when I do the knee drop version for no-gi. So I can let go and I can just kind of let my arm drag across his torso here. So it just takes him down. Or you can hug on the other side if it's hit. So I'm going, boom. It's just a way to get my energy to go towards that hit. So for the Uchi, instead of taking him straight back, I'm actually stepping off to the side. And instead of hooking this leg here, I'm gonna hook the other leg. So same grips, collar sleeve. I take a step to the side and that makes a spin in a circle, right? So you imagine we're connected like this with our grips. So if I start stepping this way, he's gonna start stepping that way. We start spiraling together. So I can use that to my advantage to get a better angle to stick my leg between his legs here. Because if I just pull straight back or pull this one to make him step like this, my foot has to go around his leg, come back and turn. But if I step out, my foot has a straight shot to between his legs here. There's an entrance there. So you guys can do this standing or on the knees, the standing version. I hook my leg behind his leg, stay on the ball of my feet, and my upper body is just gonna rotate him to the mat. And I always look to where I'm rotating, that way my spine follows the direction, right? I don't wanna lock myself up. So if I do it like that, here, step out, I'm here, I'm hooking. Now I make contact and I'm entering my hip with this hook here, kind of like I'm blasting through him, and I'm just gonna take him to the mat. So this here is gonna essentially peel down, or with the gi, you can actually wrap the gi around his shoulder. That's gonna take out all the slack so that you're actually essentially pulling down on the rope. The other hand here is lifting up, so you're turning a big wheel as you're taking away this leg. So in real time, I'll take you down, out step here, and I'm down. Notice how it's kind of like I'm blasting through his hips. I can back step into that hook too, and that's really gonna crash into him. So if I backstep into that here, that backstep should already be moving him backwards when I make contact. And all you have to do after that is just turn the big wheel. So here, boom. That's one. Now the kneeling version, all I'm gonna do is the same thing, but my leg's gonna drop to here, the top of my foot, not the toes. And from here, I just windshield wiper my leg, take him to the mat, take him to the point of the triangle where he is not, right? So here, out step, drop to my knee here, flat, and all I'm gonna do is just look towards that direction, look towards the camera, and rotate. And that takes him down. The Nogi Ouchi, all we're doing is we're gonna take a step outward so that we have side entrance to this one here. Now my hand behind his neck here is gonna peel this neck on the far side, kind of make him turn and look towards the ceiling. So you guys have control over a lot of people by just grabbing on the far side of the neck and just making him look this way. I'm doing this to my body. My elbow goes into his chest here, and I'm making him turn, right? So if I do that for my Ouchi, that's gonna help open up his chest. It's gonna help turn him towards the mat. So again, I'm here, take my out step here, and I'm actually gonna turn as I step through, and that's gonna take him to the mat here. That was the kneeling version. I can do the standing version. In that case, all I'm gonna do is put the ball of my foot here and look towards the mat and take him over. So out step, ball of the foot, and out. Again, keep in mind, you want to wrap your leg past his center of gravity with that step, right? So I'm not doing this. See how far my hip is from him? And then when I push into him, nothing really happens. When I enter with my leg, I'm entering through him, kind of like you're doing a shuffling side kick or a back step side kick, right? So look at my hip, make contact with his hip here. I'm not gonna try to take him down, but you're gonna see the impact here. See how he's already off balance, and now when I just continue the motion with my upper body, he's gonna fall over.